To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
What is it about Disney that makes us happy? Is it the magical whistle as your ticket is scanned at the main gate? Is it the seafaring smell of pirate water? Or is it charting a course to a land where you may never grow up? Whether it's singing a familiar song, watching a movie, or riding your favorite attraction for the 100th time, Disney undeniably has a way to warm our hearts, believe in magic, and bring joy into our lives. This is Main Gate Magic, a podcast where we break down and discuss the infectious happiness, delight, and thrill of all things Disney.
And beyond!
Terry, I saw that little giggle when you saw the "and beyond."
And beyond.
Yes, that is something new that we've actually recently added because we do these wild card episodes every first Tuesday of every month now, and we just did the first one recently, and I kept thinking to myself, how am I gonna change my little intro video to something that actually says that? And I thought way too hard on it, and that's what I ended up with, and I think it worked out great.
Sounds like that hard thinking paid off.
It did. It developed into something huge, and then it got shrunk down to the size of 2 words. Welcome everybody to another fun-filled episode of Main Gate Magic. I am Jason, your host, and I also have my co-host with me, Miss Leia. It's good to have you back in the studio.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice to be here.
Yes. And bringing back to the stage, in case you guys have missed it or missed her, Miss Terri Hardin, the legendary, I can't even can I say all the different things that you've done without losing my breath?
On my YouTube channel, it just is a crawl. My husband did a crawl while I'm making tea.
So the list kind of goes on and on and on. But everybody, welcoming back to the stage for the second time, part 2, Miss Terri Hardin. Welcome back to our show, Terri.
Hello, and I missed you.
I missed you too. It's been a while, and I haven't been to any shows where I've been able to see you in person. So this is the next best thing, I guess, right?
Yes. It is the next best thing.
Oh, and who's that mysterious gentleman in the background?
That's the husband sighting.
That's the husband sighting. I wouldn't have believed it if I didn't see the video, just like anything on the internet, right?
Taking the dog out.
Oh, okay. God. Yes, I had to take care of all that before the show even started, but it's a good thing you got somebody for that.
Pets
yes,
that,
absolutely.
They don't wait.
Can't ignore them.
That's it.
Before we get started, because we've got a lot to talk about, we got a lot to catch up on, we got a lot to ask that I wasn't able to ask from the last episode because we just kind of got off on a tangent, and I loved it. It was so fun. Yeah, we chatted just about everything, and I want to do the same today, but I also do want to ask a few things specific to your career that we really didn't get a chance to touch on last time, to kind of tell people a little bit more about what you've done besides a Star Wars fan, besides, stunt work, things like that, which we actually said we were going to talk a little bit more about. Mm-hmm. But before I do, I'm going to say hello to a few fans that are in the show today. We have Disney Magic Zach, who's actually in California today, visiting from the UK. He says hello from the side of my hotel pool, JB. Haha.
I'm just looking at that going, you make us jealous there.
Yeah, Zach. So he's actually going to be going to Disneyland and I think a few other theme parks this week and next week. And Lisa and I are going to be meeting him in a week. Actually, next Monday, we're going to be meeting up with him and saying hello.
That's awesome, Jason.
Yeah, and he's also part of another podcast network called Signs of Amusement. So him and a few other of my crazy friends from that podcast are also watching. So let's see, who else do we got in the house today? We've got Disney in your mom. In your mon. Sorry. Let me adjust my glasses, folks. They say, hi from San Bruno, Bay Area fan. That's awesome.
Neat.
Hello. I'm glad to see somebody else from the Bay Area watching, and a new listener too, or a new watcher. I'm really happy to see that. I know. Mr. Gary Robinson, who we actually had very recently on the show, is watching. He is our Walt Disney I'm not going to say impersonator, Gary, but I will say a lookalike, because you do look a lot like Walt Disney.
Lookalike.
Yes. And
Hi, Terri. Hi,
he
Cindy
visits the
and
Disney
Cody.
World parks and spreads magic that way, and that's the reason we had to have him on the show.
Cool.
Mr. C. Andrew Nelson is in the house.
Well,
Terri, I
there
know
he
you know who
is.
he is.
The
He
dark
says,
side.
"Yep,
Hello,
greetings."
sir. How are you?
And he says, "Hello to
Andrew.
Terri, one of my favorite people in the galaxy." You've been in a
Yeah.
few galaxies, Terri.
Yes. Star Wars being one of my favorite.
Absolutely.
So,
And
definitely.
you have a tie to Star
definitely.
Wars, not just in the story that you told from our last episode where you went to see the very first show. What was it, like 37 times or something like that? Was it? Did I get the number right?
Just he's just off by about 100.
Oh.
183 times actually. At a time
183
when there was
times.
no internet, no DVDs,
Right.
no cell phones, none of that stuff.
But did you also
you had to go to the theater.
Did you also
Yeah.
have a little bit of a hand in helping out with the Star Tours ride at Disneyland as well? Did I?
Star Tours Japan. We actually,
okay.
when Japan wanted to do their version of Star Tours, my associate and I, we sculpted up Admiral Akbar for the first gate, for the entrance gate, and then we did a couple other characters for them there. Yeah.
The one that was kind of in the control booth, just sort of like looking around and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. We sculpted that for them, and then they put it in there. That was a really fun thing to do, especially since you have a great love for Star Wars.
Definitely.
And, thank you, Zach.
And my father is in the house, Mr. Odie Braden, saying, "Found you. Hi, guys. Yeah, we've been in the same place like for 2 years,
Hello,
Dad. So I'm glad you found us." And speaking of signs of amusement, that is our good friend Jason saying, "Hello, all. Hello, Jason. It's good to see you."
Hi, Jason, number 2.
Jason, number 2.
Yeah.
I don't know if he really wanting to be called number 2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, hi, Jason.
Yes, just Jason will do. Actually, it's funny. Since I met them, he's Jason and I'm JB. So in that circle, I actually have a nickname. So that way we can differentiate. Yeah. Let's see. We got Leanne in the house. She says, "Hello, that's my sister-in-law." Hello, Leanne.
Hi, Leanne.
I think unless it's Alex hijacking your account, but I don't know. We'll see.
Or they both could be watching.
They both could be watching, yeah. From Signs of Amusement as well, we have Expedition Steve in the house saying, "Hi, everybody."
Hey, Steve.
Hello, Steve.
And I think that's it. If anybody else is in the chat right now and wants to say hello, drop your name in there and just give us a wave. Say hi. Don't be shy.
We're missing Miss Patricia. Where is she?
I think she's listening to us right now. I think she actually sent me a message earlier saying that she's on her way home. And she was listening to this, so she probably can't type right now. She might say hello when she gets to her destination.
Home safely.
Exactly, yes. which is definitely how we appreciate that. We like everybody to be safe.
Very good idea.
Well, Terri, I have my first question for you, actually, because I'm stoked. Okay. Go. I have to do a little preface story.
Okay.
2 nights ago, my brother has the coolest wall art that I've ever seen because it's functional. He bought particle board and made an 80s, 90s video store looking wall, and he got VHSs. Like, he has over 100 VHSs on the wall, and he has the lights coming down. It is the most beautiful thing. And we played a game with him and one of our friends, and we said, out of all the films on this wall, if you could only watch one for a year, which one would you choose? And I gave it so much thought, we all did. And I said, it has to be Men in Black. I am in love with Men in Black. And as I was learning about you, I heard that you worked on Men in Black, and I just have to hear, like, what part of it did you work on?
Oh my goodness. Men in Black is you picked a good one. And the reason you picked a good one was because as a puppeteer, I was asked to audition for Men in Black, and they weren't sure what yet. They brought us in early enough. Rick Becker had rigged in his studio a creature for us to play different parts. So puppeteers are always a team. So one was the head one time, and then we did the arms, and then we did legs and whatever appendage was there. And he just wanted to see how we worked as a team. So I was very excited because I had been friends with Rick Baker for a long time, but never really got to work with him. And I kept saying, you know, I would love to work with you. I'd love to work with you. And he said that, you know, I think at the time he said, well, I'm a little reluctant to hire my friends. And I said, well, then let's not be friends and hire me. And
It's a dynamic.
That is
but
something I'm willing to sacrifice.
yeah, it was a big, you know,
Right.
he's a fantastic guy. But what happened is the reason I was brought in there was a man named Tony Urbano who I had trained with. I had done a lot of work. He was one of my mentors. He is one of we haven't seen each other in a while, but he's still gives advice and stuff, getting on in years, but still very much exuberant and very wise puppeteer in all fields, marionettes and hand puppets and all of that. So
wow.
he looked at me and Rick looked at me, and that Tony was told he was going to be lead puppeteer. That happens on films. And for Men in Black, he was going to be lead puppeteer. Well, he knew that Rick knew me, and Rick knew that he knew me. Hello, Thomas. And
Welcome, Thomas. Glad to have you,
Men in
buddy.
Black.
and so what happened is the wires crossed because Tony thought if he had to pick 8 puppeteers, that Rick would most likely bring me in, or better yet, I was working with Greg Nicotero, director of The Walking Dead.
Oh,
That's
I
wow.
was
right.
working.
Yes.
I was working with him at his studio in Chatsworth, I guess he's at, and I was working on was it Team America or
Oh, no.
Eraser? Anyway, it was a movie. I was working with them on another film and being a builder over there. And so they both thought, Rick thought, or at least Tony thought that Greg would bring me in because I was one of the top puppeteers. So when he brought his team in, they thought, well, goodness, we'll be bringing him. They'll just bring her in. Well, the day came and the puppeteers walked in and I wasn't with them. So
Were
Rick
they
Baker
upset?
said, Rick Baker said, where's Terri? And they said, what do you mean? And he said, weren't you going to bring Terri in? And which surprised me, actually. I have to say I was surprised.
I bet you were really flattered, like really honored.
I was flattered when I found out. I'm I'm in Chatsworth working. They're they're at Universal shooting men, and so a phone call goes to K&B, which is Kurtzman, Nicotero, and Berger, K&B Studios, Howard Berger, and so I was just sitting there working on something, and the phone call came through, and they hung up, and they said, Rick Baker wants you on set. And I'm like, what? He says, yeah, get over there to the Men in Black.
News to me.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
He says, I don't know, Terri, I don't know. It was Rick Baker saying, where's Terri? Tell her to get out here. So I jump in my car and I drive as fast as I can. And I get on the set and I step on, and Rick Baker says, why weren't you here? And I said, what do you mean? You know, it was this whole thing of... Anyway, long story short, Rick said, I'm so sorry. He said, honestly, I thought that they were going to cast you as a puppeteer. And when they didn't, I just felt that you needed to be here. So they gave me 2 weeks. He says, that's about the best I can do for you, Terri. I can't have you on the whole show, but I'm going to give you 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I thought, that's 2 weeks more than I had. So I was like, what do I do? So I was one of the tentacles of the tentacled creatures in your favorite movie. They have names. Yes, the 2 big tentacle ones that work with Torn. And then I was a scrubbing bubble that was one of those little vehicles that kind of scrubbed along the ground.
Oh,
and
cool.
And my friends, several of my friends were the worm guys, but I didn't get to be one of the worm guys until the worm guys had that apartment in Men in Black 2. Then I got to be a worm guy for a while, worm guy number 6 or whatever. But but it was great fun. The thing that surprised me though, Leia,
Yeah.
when we did it, and it was lots of fun to do it. And I have a great story about doing that one. Hang
I'm
on
so
to that one.
excited.
Hang on to that one. But the thing that shocked me was when we went to see it, my credit was with the cast. Okay, so if you watch the beginning of the credits, in the middle, about this big, is my name. And I was like, and I couldn't believe it because puppeteers are so far down. You can change into your pajamas, put on your bunny slippers, kick back, grab a pillow, and you still haven't seen where the puppeteers are going to come up in the credits. So we're just used to it. We're way down near music.
Yeah,
we're
so
above.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so this was amazing. Best credit I ever had. But I guess Rick felt like he wanted to give me something and he was able to put the credit in there. And it was really lovely. But the story I was going to tell you was Will Smith.
Mhm.
So a lot of the times when you're a puppeteer, there's things you're supposed to do. So we're with the Screen Actors Guild. We are considered on-camera performers. And an on-camera performer is supposed to have what's called, you may have heard of it, dressing room. And they wouldn't give it to us. There was about 10 of us or so, maybe a few more, and they wouldn't give us a green room for us to settle.
Yeah.
Well, the Screen Actors Guild doesn't just do that for their own amusement. Puppeteers are very odd. And so puppeteers being very odd, you're trying to keep the set quiet. And we are crazy people. Okay. We're just crazy people. I mean, we're under the floor.
Notoriously.
We're hanging in the air. We're under the floor. We're laying on the floor. In the case of the 8-arm guys, we were underneath the stage.
Wow.
And
I came in late. Are you talking about the worms?
the not the worm guys, but the one with 8 tentacles. So you had a puppeteer doing the main body of it, but then each one of us was a appendage.
Oh, okay.
When they're
So
typing at the
cool.
big thing, right? And we're
Yeah.
all
Winnie
that's the
and
wonderful
Bob.
thing.
Oh, yeah. Willie
Yeah.
and Bob. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Like I said, I
Yeah.
came in late. I didn't even know if we were still on Men in Black. And really quick, Terry, I have to tell you, this is hilarious because I rewatched our episode back in August, and the same freaking thing happened to me. I lost connection in the middle of our interview with you. It's you. I'm blaming it on you. It's your fault. I know you got the hoodoo going on over there. Something. I don't
Listen
know.
well.
All right. Sorry. Please
Pay
continue.
attention.
But
It's not your fault, but it's your fault.
But I tend to imitate. I do voice work a lot of times, and the director of Men in Black had a voice like this. So I'm under the floor and I'm hearing.
Sonnenfeld? Is that really?
Okay, everybody, let's go. And I'm like, who the heck is that? Action! And I was like, is that the director? And they're like, Terry, be quiet. It's the director. And I was like, that's the director? This is my voice? And so
Maybe that's how they got the name.
I'm going to get myself in trouble.
Right.
And so they said, yes.
Wow.
So there we are up top stage when we're not performing. And also I ended up on the cutting room floor because and I actually think that might have been, I'm trying to remember if that was Men in Black 1 or Men in Black 2, but I'm pretty sure it was 2. I was supposed to be a ticket taker, and it got on the cutting room floor because they wanted to be 85 minutes. And it was really nice of the director to come up and say, Terry, you did a great job. We just needed to be 85 minutes. So I was like, well, thank you for being so sweet,
Yeah, of course.
But I was on the floor, and and puppeteers are often on the floor, so you recognize people by their shoes. So you go, oh, director, he's got them fancy shoes, must be the director. And you look up and you go, what did I do now? You say to yourself, but for 2, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So that
never happens with you.
I never get ahead of myself, and I never get, but so we are all sitting outside the area where they're shooting, but they can hear us. Big mistake of leaving puppeteers there because we just get into stuff. We crazy stuff.
You guys sound so fun.
We're it's dinosaurs. I don't know if I told you the story about the food on dinosaurs, but that's another story. So anyway, there I was, and I'm in the back, and and they kept saying, "Will you guys be quiet?" And I kept saying, if we had a green room, this would not be your problem. We would all be in one space, and we would all be making noise away from your shooting area. And the AD went, "You guys are driving me crazy." So to keep me quiet, a fan sent me The Emperor's New Groove.
Oh.
And she said, "You got to see this movie." And
Jason
I said,
and I voice over that one all the time.
I've seen the preview. I don't know. And they said, "Trust us." So I start to watch this movie, and I have to turn it off because I'm disrupting the set. I'm laughing so hard.
It's so good.
One more time, Terry, and I'm gonna put you in the corner.
So Terry, if I did this, like, you know what that
Big,
means, right?
dumb, and tone deaf. I am so glad I was asleep for all this.
I gotta tell you, my favorite was oh gosh, there's so many favorite moments of that movie. I just adore that movie. It's a watch party movie that's so good.
Yeah,
So I always bring my lunch when I am usually on a studio lot because it's so crowded. And I threw off their groove indeed. So I had my lunch, and I was very excited that I brought my lunch because I fired up Emperor's New Groove, and I was sitting in the corner on the set. Nobody else is there. And I am just laughing, squeaka, 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 squeaka. And I am laughing and laugh.
Yeah.
I cannot, I mean, that movie is like the right, oh, it's just
Perfection.
so fun. And I'm like, because there's no one in there.
Right.
And all of a sudden there's a presence behind me, and it's Will Smith.
Oh my gosh.
And he says, "What the heck are you laughing at?" And I said, "Oh, hey." And he says, "Hey." And he says, "What are you laughing at?" And I said, "Emperor's New Groove. Have you seen it?" And he says, "No, I haven't seen it." I said, "Are you on lunch?" He says, "Well, technically I'm waiting to shoot a music video. They were supposed to be here, and we're going to shoot a music video." And I went, "Ah, rats, that means I have to turn it off." But he said, not yet. And I said, "You want to watch it?" So I started up. He sits next to me, and we both watch it for about 10 minutes together going, "Wow!"
Terry, that's an amazing story.
Mr. Smith, and we're laughing so hard we don't hear it. So the guy comes around and sees us both laughing, and then he's like, "What the heck are you laughing at?" And Will says, "Have you seen this movie?" So it was this sort of running gag, and then he had to shoot the video, and
that is
I had
hilarious.
to turn the movie off.
That reminds me, there's a scene that Will Smith, did you ever see the movie I Am Legend with him?
Yes.
So good.
So there's a scene where he meets the mom and the little boy, right, that kind of help him along near the end.
Mhm.
And there's a big kind of like almost prophecy type of thing that starts happening in the movie right there. Everything's serious. He's been through a lot. I think he lost his dog at that point already. So he's in a bad place.
Yeah.
But they take him to their apartment where they have all this food and also a TV with some VHS tapes, and then they put on the movie Shrek.
I remember that.
He's standing there watching it, and he's like all of a sudden just staring at it, and then he starts repeating the lines from Donkey and Shrek, and I'm just like, this is amazing. This is like one of the best scenes in the entire movie, because he, in that one moment, looked at an animated film and got pulled back into the world that he used to know.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was just like, that is just so perfect. It was such a
I
great
love that
scene.
perspective, Jason. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yes,
That's a great
now don't get
story,
mad
though,
at us.
Terry.
That's
No, not at all.
non-Disney. That's non-Disney, but hey.
No,
you
it's
love
okay.
movies,
Yeah.
if you
Like
love,
I
if you
said,
love films.
We're
like
going to go
I
off
love
on
films.
tangents today, so that's not a problem. But
yes, I love films. So films are my music.
I'm going to kind of divert for a moment here and say hello to a few other people in the chat. And actually, before I do, even though she's not on the show right now, I have to give mention to a very special lady who is celebrating a birthday today. That would be my lovely wife, Miss Lisa. And my dad says, happy birthday to Lisa. So, of course, whenever we have a birthday on Main Gate Magic, we also have to celebrate properly.
Happy birthday, Lisa.
Lisa, rocket. What?
Lisa.
Happy birthday
to
you.
you.
All right.
No, we should quote the Emperor's New Groove. Happy birthday.
Oh,
Yeah,
from all of us to you, we wish it was our
Candles are,
birthday
like,
so we could
falling off
party
her
too.
cake. So many. Jason, can you do the
Oh,
microphone?
Lisa, it's all your fault.
Yzma, it's your birthday.
I didn't know it was your birthday, Yzma. Happy birthday. You want cheese on that? Actually, that's funny because Patrick Warburton, 6 Degrees of Separation, he was actually in Men in Black 2. He was one of the
Yes.
characters in the very beginning before he got
Yes.
flashy
Yes.
thingied. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
thanks, Dad, for recognizing Lisa's birthday. Appreciate that. And we got another listener, a first-time listener, I think. I'm not sure. Aaron Ogawa
Hey,
says,
hello
hi,
there,
Terry. Actually, you know
Hello.
what? Aaron might have been there the last one we did. Is that a friend of yours or something? Is that somebody that
He's
you
a
know?
friend now. No.
Hi, Erin.
Got a friend in me. And Aaron actually has a question. Or actually says, not a question, but just a fact. You'll find this amusing, but my birthday is also the same day Disneyland started construction in 1954 on July 16th. Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's a
awesome.
milestone. I'm going to guess that you're not that old, though. I mean, although I really can't tell by the picture.
Aaron says, how old is that
Yeah.
old young man?
Well, thanks for watching, Aaron. Appreciate the fun fact in there. I love those little kind of fun facts. It's what brings the magic alive on our show. And I'm going to go back to a question from Disney in you Yaman. What's your personal favorite Disney project, Terry?
That I've done?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, y'all know the answer to this one. It
Yes.
involves a creature underneath a castle about 35 feet long, breathes fire.
Is it in Terry?
In Pelly?
It is
It's
in Terry.
Remy! No.
You know what's funny is that we ended the last show talking about that dragon, and you said the next time that you were on, you needed to talk more about that dragon. So what a perfect
So
segue.
this is the opening. So
Yes,
my
go for
favorite
it.
was the Dragon and Dragon Slayer.
Oh, okay.
I had been let's go back a little bit. When I was a little girl, it was a time when you could ride the ride several times at Disneyland. It was still expensive for my family, but once we were there, we synchronized watches and we scattered to the four winds. And my parents said, meet at 12. And of course, I didn't. And so they were like, where do you think Terry is? And my dad said, Mr. Toad's or Jungle Cruise. And he looked at his watch and he said, probably Jungle Cruise. And he was right. So they let me ride round and round and round on Jungle Cruise while I sketched. And I was about 8 years old.
Oh.
And the cast member said to me, what is with you sketching all these animals? And I said, I love to create animals in puppets. I love to create animals in sculpture. I love to create animals for people's costumes and things. And they said, well, these animals are created by a person called an Imagineer. And the Imagineer is Blaine Gibson. And so I wrote that down. And she said, try, the Sunday night Disney show. You might get a glimpse of him, blah, blah, blah. But I combed newspapers and I looked for him and I finally saw him. I thought, I'd love to meet this person. And I just looked at his work because one of the shows that Walt had, they kind of featured him and they talked about what he had done. And he had overseen the sculpting of the animals in Jungle Cruise, among other things.
Sure.
And I said, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Well, it took some time before I got to be an Imagineer, and about 150 some odd rejection letters, enough to wallpaper my house that I was cussing out the mouse, mouse. And
I think we've all done that at one point or another, especially if we're paying the price for the tickets at the parks nowadays.
Yeah,
but I digress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway.
So my mother went to work for Disney as a word processor. That was the person before we all had our own phones and we had our own computers. They
Right.
used to have
Okay.
people who did those computer inputs, and my mother
They
was
were
one
the
of them.
computers. Yeah.
They were, exactly. She
Yeah.
was. And she asked how my daughters dreamed of, it's the question. Terri would love to be in here sculpting. What does she do? Well, there's a little blue card that cast members, I don't know if they do that now, but that they put on your resume, meaning, see this person, it was recommended by someone in-house.
Oh, wow.
That didn't work
Hmm.
either.
Oh,
But thanks for playing. And I was working. The thing about Disneyland is that, about Disney, is that they're, I don't think it's there anymore, but Disney had very many buildings all over Burbank. So you had Imagineering, you had Walt Disney Pictures, you had Walt Disney Channel, WaltDisney.com store, you had the place where they build the parades, and you had the place where they show the rides to cast members called the Tahunga Building before they went installed wherever they went to all the points. So I would, along that route to get to the Tahunga Building, were some other stores like Rhythm and Hughes, and I can't remember who else was there, but Shafton's, who built things like McGruff the Crime Dog, Smokey the Bear,
wow.
Charlie Tuna,
Right.
these characters. So I was a sculptor for them. I did McGruff's head. I sculpted the head of, bring me the head of McGruff the Crime Dog. And then I also did Smokey the Bear. I sculpted Smokey the Bear's head. Claim to fame, who's there now, because most of these things have become CG or AI or whatever they're doing them
Right.
now.
Actually,
But the man, go
I
ahead.
have a question. Thomas and Leia, do you know who Smokey the Bear is? I'm just curious because
Of
you guys are definitely
course
for a
I
different generation.
do.
Okay.
I do.
Well,
Yes.
Smokey, if you
Okay,
guys
I
have
just
any
did-
TV that has commercials, Smokey's a whole different kind
Yeah,
of
it was
bear
a
now because he's
generational
not a
thing, though.
puppet.
I figured it
Yeah.
was something more from like, when I was a kid and stuff like that. So I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
And McGruff, you guys obviously know who McGruff
McGruff
is,
the
right?
Crime Dog is also making
Yeah.
a comeback as a
Take a bite
as
at
a
a crime.
strange
Yeah.
animated creature. You're not McGruff the Crime Dog, and they
What?
sort of rip an arm off or something really dramatic. I
Like,
don't
wow.
know about that.
Getting
But
dark.
if you ever ski in Mammoth Mountain, the skiing mammoth, the head is mine. And
Oh,
I
really?
have sculpted
I've
that
been there
head.
before.
Yeah, I must have been about 20 when I did the first head, and they keep using the patterns. So they no longer have me
Neat.
sculpted, but they keep using the patterns. So I'm sculpting that, and I'm sculpting a water drop for Water and Power, a walk around water drop. And a guy walks in and he says, Terri, what are you doing here? And I said, waiting for Disney to get a clue. And he says, what? And I said, well, everybody tells me that they really need me because they're building this park, but I can't seem to get in the door. And my friend says, well, I work at the Tahunga Building. I'm going to go back there and I'll throw your name in the hat. And that's what did it. I walked in the next day and they looked at my portfolio and said a few words we won't say here. And he said, where have you been? Where have you been? And I said, stupid me. I kept knocking at the front door when I should have come in the back. So they immediately whisked me over to Imagineering, and my hair at the time went out like a giant dandelion. So
I've seen pictures.
I had my mother's skin tone, but my father's hair. So I'm mixed races, obviously. And I walked in and I had this lion's mane of blonde hair, and the security guard said, what the heck are you? Always a great way to start out a conversation, let me just say. And
That's an
I said,
interesting one, yeah.
I'm here
Right.
to apply for a sculpting job. And I walked in and showed them my portfolio, and they were like, oh my gosh. And they said that this is exactly what we're looking for. And then they sent me home, and it took them 3 months to make up their mind. Welcome to Disney. But 3 months, and there I was trying very, 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 very hard to, and many of you, if you've got a dream job, what you're trying to do is to survive so you don't starve, but you don't want to disappoint the person you're working for, knowing that as soon as they call, you're gone. So I
Right.
kept trying to do these jobs here and there in the hopes that Disney would call, and they kept having me for interviews. Nothing. And then on the in between, I got a call from Dolly Parton. True story. Not Dolly, but her people.
Mhm.
All right.
Right.
She has
Your
other
people
people.
call
that
my
calls her.
people, right?
Exactly.
I actually have a question for you, really quick though, before you get into Dolly. You had all those rejection letters, right?
Yes.
You had a thing for Mickey. You were cursing his name and saying, "Why
Yes.
Disney? Why?" You get in the door finally, regardless of if it's in the back door or the front door. What's the feeling at that point? Is it, yes, I finally gotten in, or is it, it's about time?
It's a little of both. It's like, really?
Is
I
it?
can
Is this
imagine.
really? Am I dreaming? Wait a minute. Let me check.
Okay.
Because I'm not believing it. Well, when I finally got hired, it was because Dolly Parton said the Dolly Parton show said they were doing a Christmas special. Heard it was a puppeteer. Would I come and perform? But one of the characters of the little kids. Okay. And I said, yes, this is perfect. A lot of people don't do much around the Christmas holidays. This was around the Christmas holidays. This will feed me and not jeopardize my chance at Imagineering. And then Imagineering called.
Mhm.
And they said,
No.
we need to see you one more time.
Jeez.
This is number 9. One more time. Can we?
Where's
can
the
we
coin?
See you? Can
Or
we
is it
see
even
you
a
one
coin
more
toss?
time? We
Yeah.
need to take a look. And I said, no, I'm sorry. I'm doing the Dolly Parton show.
Oh, really?
And they said, well, if you don't come to this meeting, I'm afraid you're out of the running to work at Imagineering.
Oh my goodness.
What?
Yes.
What
And
did you
All or
do?
nothing.
your
Holy
faces are
cow.
nowhere near mine. Mine was,
Oh,
all the powers from Hades. And the guy on the other end says, excuse me. And I said, how dare you?
oh my gosh.
You aren't Fantasyland. You live in Fantasyland. What is with this company?
Yep.
Make a decision.
Mhm.
And now
Yeah.
you're telling me I'm not going to go because it's the 9th time and I picked something to feed myself and it's with freaking Dolly Parton. Well, forget it. Bam.
And then, that was a forget it, huh?
Slam. I don't need you people. Slam.
All right.
Good for you, Terry.
Hired
Yeah.
2 days later.
Hired 2 days later.
So I said,
Yeah.
my goodness, if getting mad was the only thing I was supposed to do, I would have gotten mad 3 months ago.
You would have kicked in that back door and just like thrown your resume at them.
Right. So how do we get to Paris? How do we get to the dragon?
Well, what happens is they put me in rock work. And most of the sculptors said, oh, God, rock work is so boring. Nothing clever about rock work. And I was like, are you guys nuts? You're going to sit there and tell me rock work isn't interesting? I'm going to tell you it's harder than doing other kind of sculpting. But there I was working on Big Thunder Paris. We were going to sculpt the mountain.
Mhm.
And I soon realized that the best way to sculpt any rock work is to stop about halfway through. If you're a sculptor, you may be going, how in the heck do I go halfway through? But you have to remember this, and this is where I learned my lesson that God is God. You cannot do things like papoose rock or squaw rock or whatever rocks they say look like this or that, because when you do, they look absolutely fake. And I don't care. It just, they just do. So
Okay.
you have to sculpt in such a way that you stop halfway there and it looks like rocks. So I'm there for a day, 2, and I'm working off of someone who's not very friendly,
Oh no.
not very kind.
Hmm.
You might say rude. And I started to get irritable.
Mhm.
And because I had worked in the film industry. And so I went to my supervisor and I said, I've got a trouble with this guy. And they said, listen, you got to go through, Disney has a process. So you go step by da 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 da, you don't jump shit, whatever. And I was like,
Right,
in
yeah.
the movies, we just go to the guy and then we have it out and then we're done.
It is still corporate.
In the film, but it is very corporate.
Yep.
And
The word
so,
process already makes me it's just like, ugh.
doesn't it make you a
It's
little
a
woozy?
cringy word. Yeah,
Yes.
it's a cringy word.
Thank
Yeah.
God for Peggy Van Pelt, who they sent me to immediately, Peggy Van Pelt sort of dealt with a lot of people like myself who was used to dialing direct. And she tried to explain to me why it's so important to go through channels. And so I tried. And the person who finally came down to mediate our situation said a few things that were very offensive to me as a woman. And I dug my fingernails into one of the model tables while I sat there silently and listened to him. And this guy kind of, ho, 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 yeah, and I'm sitting on the table going, I will kill him. If you don't settle this for us, I will destroy him.
I'm waiting for the part of the story where you tell me that person is still buried in the rocks of Big Thunder in Paris.
The dragon
No
ate him.
evidence.
Like, it's like one of those hidden Disney Paris facts where it's like, did you know that there's a real skeleton buried in the rockwork of Big Thunder Mountain?
I know who it is.
Right.
Look, the big skeleton. Sure.
Terri may or may not have something to do with that. Film at 11.
But the guy, he says, look, Terri, here at Imagineering, we settle our own grievances. We don't bring them up to the top person. We settle them. So this is between you guys. So you guys hash it out. And I went, thank you, Jesus.
Excellent.
And when he left, I walked up to this person and I grabbed him by the shirt and said, you sculpt, I block what I sculpt, and you block what you sculpt. And if I catch your paws on my side of the sculpture, I will break them. And he said, wow, you're a bit rough. I said, and if you don't introduce me to the dignitary coming up here, because we're equal, and you don't want them to be embarrassed by us rolling around the ground like a couple of polar bears as I beat you senseless, then please, you be sure to introduce me. And he's like, all right, take it easy, take it easy. But I guess it kind of made him, I don't know, it must have made him just, he was one of those people that had a golden ticket, someone that Disney had brought down because they had seen his ability and they wanted him to be working in this division, and he was very talented. Well, just by doing that, he kind of realized he couldn't push me around, and surprisingly enough, we became friends. So we started to work together. And Big Thunder Mountain, I have to say, is one of the nicer pieces, but I was about to quit. So I went to my supervisor and said, I'm done. I don't need this. I am perfectly talented sculptor. I thought Imagineering was for me, but it isn't if I have to work with that guy. And the supervisor kind of went, oh, I'm sorry. It's just that you're so gregarious that we thought you might just work out with this guy. And I was like, what? Why didn't you tell me? You threw me in the lion's den and didn't tell me it was a lion?
Right.
And he says, well, we didn't want to give you any preconceived ideas, but no one else will work with him.
Oh my God.
Oh, God.
But you know what? Isn't it funny that like certain people like that sometimes don't even really pay attention to you until you get to their level. And sometimes it does require getting there for them to even listen to you or even get respect.
Now,
It's
let me
not
point
how
out,
it should be. It's not how it should be, but it's how people are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes. And in Imagineering, I got the one. Okay. Imagineers are so incredible. Brilliant minds that have an ego, but it's left at the door. And you're collaborating with all of these amazing artists. And the adrenaline rush is like nothing you've ever experienced in your life.
Yeah, I bet.
It is amazing. It's like, because everybody is firing on all cylinders and this park happens. So I get the one dud.
And you didn't get the heads up.
So I said, oh man, I said, well, I got to think about it. So I go storming out. Well, in my first 4 days at Imagineering, a very amazing man wandered by on my first day. And he sat down and it was Herbie Ryman. Imagine if you turn and you see a man walk over who looks a lot like the Cowardly Lion.
Oh my God.
That's good.
And he says to you,
Oof.
this is
Oh, sorry.
amazing. This is amazing.
This is amazing.
Can you tell me about what you're doing here? And I went, excuse me, but aren't you? And he went, yes. And I went, oh my God. Give me a
Oh,
minute while I catch my voice, which just escaped, and I may have
Mhm.
to sit down. You're a legend. And he said, thank you. And so we had a couple of conversations. So he sees me storming out and he stops me. He says, Terri, what's going on? And I said, I'm quitting. I'm done. This place is cracked. And he says, you're quitting? Mm, really? You're quitting? Sit down. So I'm
oh,
sitting next to him and he says, oh, I never would have thought it of you, Terri. Quitting. I thought you loved the Disney company. I thought you wanted to work for the Disney company. I thought you respected Walt. And I'm like, well, I do. I just don't like the guy I'm working with. And he says, is that any reason to quit?
oh.
And I was like, oh, we need passionate people here, Terri. If we're going to make this park work, we need passionate people. And if you haven't looked in the mirror lately, you're passionate. And I went, oh, but that sucks. He goes, you can make it better. You can make it better. Can't you make it better? Won't you make it better? Don't you want Walt to be happy?
Oh
Or
no, he
me to
pulled
be
the
Oh my
Walt
happy?
God.
card. Come
Herbie,
on.
seriously? Ow. Oh. Okay.
Okay.
I'll go back in. Tell him I'll stay. He says, good for
Wow.
you. You're going to be glad you did that. I
Right.
said, okay, I'm glad I did it.
I'm so glad he was there when you were walking out. Like, you never know if he wouldn't have been there if you would have gone through with it. I mean, what
The
an
man,
amazing
the man is
Yeah, the
serendipitous
magical.
universe
moment.
works in mysterious ways, don't
And
it?
the man is
Yeah.
magical. So I went back into my supervisor and I told him I would stay, but I would pick the next project, which was Dragon Slayer. And I said, what's this? And he said, it's a stone dragon that's going to be in the middle of Paris. And I said, excuse me, what stone? And he said, as in not moving?
Right.
And he said, well, yeah. And I said, why? I don't know, Terri. I don't know everything. And I said, but aren't we Disney? Don't we animate? I mean, isn't this an
Yes.
We
animation
animate.
Good for you
company?
for asking questions.
He goes, yes. And I said, well, we need to fix this. He says,
Yes.
we need to fix this. My supervisor, we need to fix this. Well, I'll fix it. Who do I got to see? Who do I got to, you tell me I'm
Yeah.
going. And he says, well, you could talk to the senior vice president. His name is Tony Baxter. I said, where is this Tony Baxter? I'll go right now. He goes, net. Whoa. You can't just walk up and knock on the door and say, hello, Tony Baxter, and talk to him. You have to make an appointment. I said, well, then get him down here. Let's get this going. Chop, chop. We got to make sure this dragon is animated. And he said, you're not going to let this go, are you? No, I'm not going to let this go. What do I do? How do I do this? And he says, he just doesn't come down here. I'm going to have to make a call. Make that call. Wait. Gee, many Christmas, wait. Ugh. Okay, you are going to have to agree to something. And I said, okay. And he said, if you can make your presentation 20 minutes, I'll make that call. Well, the three of you know already that is a challenge for me.
Okay, wait, Terri, before you continue, let's put a bookmark in that. Josh is here and he says, hello, Terri, best stories.
Joshua!
Yes, and I know you know who Mr. Fun Facts is. I had to get him on there to say hello because I knew you. I figured he might be on today.
I wrote the foreword to his book. He gave me a
Yes.
long time to write it, like 3 days or something, because the person he had asked had not sent it in. And then at the last minute, the person he asked did. And let's just say that person was a legend. And so I said, oh, then I'm out. And Joshua said, no, because he said, I like what you wrote because you actually read my book. And I said, well, I didn't read your book. This is thick, but I did read portions of it to get the feel for it so that it would be a good forward. And he said, do you mind if I put both in? And he put both in, which I've always been forever grateful. Joshua is also the one that decided to do a dossier on me what I've done for all my life, and every time we're together, he'll go, "That's not in there. I have to fix that. Oh, that's not in there. I have to," and it's like 20, 30 pages long.
It's
Oh.
Yeah, but he did it. And bless his heart, people are just shocked when they read it. So that's a thank you to Joshua Schaefer. He's amazing. He's an amazing
yes,
man.
very cool guy. And then
Very
Kevin was
optimistic.
also
Hi,
saying,
Kevin.
who had the idea for the stone dragon? Because I was kind of wondering the same thing, because you said this man approached you, and I think I heard you say Herbie at one point. Is that right?
Well, Herbie approached me because he was curious. He was walking around Imagineering to meet the new
Mhm.
gang, because he was up there near Walt's office. At least that's what I'm told.
Okay.
And so no, I don't. I can't imagine Herbie came up with the stone dragon, but I think they thought, this is a hub. The reason that the hub is inside beneath a mountain is because sometimes it snows in Paris. So they thought,
Oh,
wow,
yeah.
Oh, it's
Right.
near a lot of mountains, yeah.
but and stone, maybe how things are, maybe the budget didn't allow it, but I don't listen to things like that, and I don't believe in things like that. And remember, Herbie said I was passionate, and he wasn't kidding. So I just kept pushing, and I said, "It's a deal. I'll do it in 20 minutes." And he said, "Okay." So a couple days later, he said Tony Baxter was coming down to hear my presentation. So I had some sketches. I had a lab coat that I had drawn a dragon on it. I was very much into dragons, so there were dragons all over my booth, on my clothing. I did a lot of puppets like that, but puppets weren't there. But anyway, I had the whole presentation. I had the layout done. I knew exactly how I wanted to convince him to animate the dragon. So I stood by my boards in my lab coat, and I patiently waited to see Tony Baxter. And I saw a man with an entourage, and I deduced that was probably Tony, because he was in the middle of about 18 people, and they were all coming in my direction. So I waited, and sure enough, someone got this person a chair, and they sat down, and then the rest of them surrounded him from behind. Some had notepads, some did not. And I took the position of a sprinter. So I had never met Tony before, because I was like, who is this Tony Baxter? Let's go do it. I mean, he is now one of my most cherished friends and teachers and bosses, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So Tony sits down, and I take the position of a sprinter. And I
On your
said,
marks.
"Are you Tony Baxter?" And he looks down, and, "Yeah." "Are you Terri Hardin?" And I said,
Oh,
"Yes."
yes.
And he said, and he said, "Okay." And I said, "Say go." "What?" "Say go." Go. "Okay, here's what's going to happen about the dragon. This is the way it's going to be. This is the way I envision it. It's all animated. So I figure the dragon is asleep when the people walk in, and it breathes, and it breathes, and it breathes, and it breathes. But the tail goes like this, because if you've ever seen, the tail goes like this, because cats, when they're sleeping, do this. But the
Right.
paw will wiggle like this, because if you've ever watched your dog, when they're dreaming, is doing this, and they're doing this." And Tony said, wait, stop." And I went,
I have no idea why.
"Baxter." I go, "Baxter, I got 15 more minutes. You're cramping my style. Could you hold all questions to the end?" And everybody, the rest of them go, and I'm just like, and
Oh my
he
God.
says, 15 minutes. I said, 15 minutes. No, 13 minutes. And he smiled, and he said, "Well, if you slow down, and I agree to you to give you more time, will you slow down so I can understand what you're saying?" And I went, "Well, oh, sure."
Right.
So I walked him through everything, explained to him we were not Universal, we were not Magic Mountain, we were Disney. Animation capital of the world, best park in the universe. What is our problem? And walked around and showed him the whole thing, and he listened, nodded, tilted his head occasionally, and then he looked at me and he said, "On two conditions." And I went, "What are those?" And he said, "Number one, you do the ride." Now he says, "You're going to design the whole thing." And I went,
Wow.
Oh my God.
"Sure." Now, for all of you listening and watching, the door of opportunity opens very few times, just a crack. And you
Yeah.
can't let your brain tell you can't do it. I'd never designed a ride before, an attraction before, ever. And for a fleeting moment, I said, oh my goodness. But I pushed myself through the door. I want you all to do the same and worry about it after the door closes. Don't tell yourself all the things you can't do and miss that door and it closes and then you don't get the opportunity. Be
Love
sure
Well
to
said.
slip
Well
through
said.
that door and then worry about it, which is what I did. I said, okay, I'll do it. I would love to do it. I would love to do it. Act as if. Which is true. I would love to do
Neville
it. I was just
Goddard.
like, oh, this is a big baptism by fire. And the second one was to create a photo spot, which sometimes is available in Paris and other times it's not. It's where you can see the dragon through the window and there's like a stalagmite and people can sit there. And if you time it just right, the dragon comes up through that hole and you can snap it and see the face. All created by yours truly. I thought this would be very cool to
Wow.
do for the photo spot, but sometimes Paris doesn't allow it because, as I often mention when asked, you are Imagineers that are designing something, and then you are, and then it is given to the park, and then the park decides what stays. So sometimes it's not, you're not on the same level. If you were in with, Indiana Jones as it was, getting less and less and less and less Indiana Jones before they fixed it up. And
Mhm.
even when they fixed it up, it was still, and that's because Disneyland decides what they are and aren't going to do. So as an Imagineer, you show them all the cool stuff and then they kind of cherry pick what they like and maybe what they don't want to do. It's just the nature of the beast. So I got to design Dragon's Lair and I got to work with mechanics, got to work with environment. I asked my boss if we could go see a cave because it was a cave. And I said I was trying to get to Carlsbad, honestly, but they said no. So we went up to Crystal Caves near Sequoia and Kings Canyon up in the middle area of California. And but we were just the only people. Disney, we were 8 of us, so we were the only ones in there taking that tour. And the guy he said, I'm going to do something for you so you can really feel what it's like to be in a cave.
Oh,
And
I know what you're going to say.
he
Yeah.
turned the lights out.
Yep.
And when he turned the lights out, I could feel the darkness crawl up my body.
Oh, yeah.
I mean that I had no idea this was going
It
to
is the
happen.
darkest dark you've ever experienced in your life. It
The
is eerie.
sensation in your skin is really chilling.
And it's
That's
crazy because
brilliant
there's
to
no
go to a cave to get that experience. Like,
Yeah,
Can you-
and there's
and
no
now
outside
I
light, there's
understand
no
why
air blowing. Yeah, nothing. It's
there's
just
nothing, and
it's like one of those, what do you call them? The tanks that you sit in, the
isolation.
sensory tanks. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the thing that's really scary is imagine you're one of these people that gets trapped in there because
I know.
you when they come out they're a little because it's really, you have no light, you have no sound, you might
Yeah.
if there's water maybe a drip, but it's really kind of it's chilling in many ways. And so when I walked out, he only did it for a minute, felt like much more. And it was life changing. So I wanted to make the cave colder, but they would only allow us so much to make that happen at Disney because you don't want to freeze your people out.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I made the tail curl around the stalagmite and swish like a cat. I got that from the cat. The dragon dreams and smoke comes out her
Yes.
nostrils while she's dreaming. But I also did the cavern so that her head is below your feet when you're standing waiting for her to awaken, so that your body will go like this when she finally goes to full
Oh, is that
extension.
cool?
God.
So everything was just to get the majesty of her, and absolutely one of the most exciting projects I had ever had.
I
I
love
didn't
it.
get to sculpt the entire dragon, but in high school I helped sculpt the dragon. They brought high school kids in to sculpt, scales on the body and on the feet. So I had been introduced to this dragon before, but I did have to retrofit her to my cave. So I would cut and retrofit and shape and work the jaw work and stuff, because originally this dragon was in Tokyo, but it looked like one of those jokes where how many people can you get in an elevator? The dragon was, you come down the elevator in Tokyo and the dragon was like,
Right.
"Ah." And you were like, why?
Back to the drawing board.
And Tony didn't really like that either. And so he was very excited to see that I was able to extend the dragon out, and the breathing and the wings and everything.
Yeah.
And it was just really a dream come true.
I've only ever
Terri-
seen videos, so it's I know it's got to be like a sight in real life, because I
It's
love dragons
something.
as well. Probably my favorite mythical creature is a dragon, and it explains my love for bats at the same time. I don't know, the wings are just like so neat.
And they're just one of the things was this was supposed to be below Merlin's magic shop. Now, of course, they've made it a place where crystal and glass are done, so Merlin's magic shop has kind of gone by the wayside. But I tried to talk Disney into allowing me not to put a collar on the dragon, so that it would be like an agreement between two magical beings, Merlin and the dragon.
I like
And
that.
Disney
I
said,
love that.
no, it's getting a collar. But in Paris, they cut the chain. They broke the chain. So the chain the collar is there, but there's just a ring. So there is no chain attaching her to the wall. So I was really thrilled. I said, Paris gets it. They're kind of getting the idea what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did throw some bones and skeletons around there, which was not my idea. And I kind of went, oh, that's kind of weird. But whatever. Maybe they thought she should be scarier than she is. But
Maybe.
But yeah, people asked if I've named her. I said, no, the fans told me it was a her. And all of you told me, have not told me her name, but that's for you guys to figure out and to decide on, because I am the mother of this dragon, but I wanted it to be a big, wonderful experience for fans. And the thing
Mhm.
that,
Sounds like it.
and Disney enthusiast, the thing that really hurts me is when someone says there's a dragon under the castle. And I go,
Yes.
oh no. Well, save up for Paris, my friend, because yes, there is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wish
you
something
don't-
I wish was in every Disney park, because that's
Yeah.
just got to be an experience. I mean, Disney copies and pastes so many different things across the parks, and I really truly wish that was something that we could experience in all the different places that at least have the castle, and just
Sounds incredible.
Well, and
paste
the
that dragon
reason,
underneath there.
honestly, the reason that the dragon even exists is because France is the castle capital of the world. And we knew as Disney Imagineers that we couldn't just do a castle. We had to do a really amazing castle, because there's so many castles in Paris that just would. So we had to do a really good, something like 130 castles Tom Morris was overseeing as they would redo it and say, and they actually did a great job, because it's got 2 stories. So you can walk up the stairs and walk on the second floor when it's available. Again, sometimes Paris ropes it off, but if you can go both floors, it's really enchanting. And it looks very Sleeping Beauty, because the trees are those square trees, and the mountain looks like
that's
just
cool.
like it's from the
That's
it was a
amazing.
great
Wow.
it's a great park. It's a beautiful park to have worked on. It was the first one outside of the United States, so that was pretty exciting.
I hope to visit
And
it someday. That's
I
kind of
hope
like
you
my
do.
dream tour, is like to do all the international Disney parks, international
Yes.
outside of the US, obviously. And I got to address a couple of the smarty pants in the audience. Josh says, myth, dragons are real.
Yes, he's right.
I mean, there are creatures named dragons in the animal kingdom, of course, but yeah,
But
what
they
I'm
are,
talking
but
about.
the dragons are trying to keep that mythical creature
Right. Like,
the spread
don't
going,
say nothing,
because
Josh.
too much press and they can't eat. They're so busy.
We don't talk about dragons.
goodness.
And of course, my father, the dad joke, king, says, I hike every Monday. When I am done, I am a dragon.
Yeah.
Well played, Dad. Well played.
My
that
dad
was
usually
really
says
good.
my tail is dragon.
Yeah, there you go.
so-
That's perfect. And Jason says we should have gotten one in Animal Kingdom since it was supposed to have a mythical creature, and that's true because that was actually part of the original logo design too. There was a lot of animals that were actually included in the logo for Animal Kingdom, and a dragon was one of those original animals in there, but no dragon
Well, I
ever
guess
made
that's
it.
what the Navi are riding now. So they kind of got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, kind of,
Sort
right?
of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
That's
the
an incredible
Ikran.
thing.
banshees, the ikran. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
they're very impressive.
New trailer for the next Avatar movie out now too. If you guys haven't
No
seen
way.
it, go check it out.
Yeah,
Mm.
I saw it.
Fire and water, I think. Yeah.
The thing that's a little bit disturbing is that Cameron says it's longer than the last one, and the last
Holy
one was 3
cow!
hours.
How is that even
yeah.
possible?
I'm like, if anyone
Wow.
can make a longer movie and not Disney, slap his hand for it, it's Cameron.
Cameron,
Yeah,
yeah.
Him or Lord of the Rings. What's
Oh,
his
Peter Jackson.
Peter
Peter
Jackson. Yeah,
Jackson.
notorious for making very
King
very
Kong.
long movies.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but there's I think Disney would tell Peter Jackson, you got to shorten it, whereas Cameron locks them out. So, the Disney producers go, "Can we see it?" And he says, "No.
No.
Wait till I'm done."
Terri, I've only known you for an hour, but I love to think of a word for people, and I have the perfect word for you. In fact, I've never met somebody who fits this word as well as you. Huge compliment. You have the most incredible tenacity. You're very
Oh,
tenacious.
thank you.
Tenacity.
Yes, like when you think of something, you don't keep it to yourself. It's almost like I don't know if I won't know if I don't try, so let me go for it. Let me make things happen. Like,
Well, that's
The
very
name magic
sweet
word
of you.
of the evening is
Leah.
tenacity.
yeah,
Tenacity.
you're
It
very
comes-
Use that in a
inspiring.
sentence.
It comes from being half Black
Mm.
and being born in 1957. My parents fell in love in 1956 when Rosa Parks was fighting for her place on the bus.
Oh,
My
yeah.
mother, who was white, was engaged. My mother was white, went to college, and when she was sitting in her classroom, my father walked in, and she said she immediately forgot her name, she forgot where she was, and she forgot she was engaged.
Oh,
So a year later, they were married, and they had to go to Mexico to get married because no
Mhm.
one would marry them.
right.
And
Wow.
then I was born, I'm the oldest of 2 children, and I didn't look like either one of them. And so this is what was, if you look deep enough, I look like both of them. But the fact is my skin was so lighter than my mother's, and I had my dad's hair. So they were both very nervous and very concerned because this is a time when there was segregation. There were white water fountains and black water fountains, and
Yep.
a black man couldn't walk his white child to the bathroom to protect her in a park. So my father could have taken several roads in teaching his child about this, but the
Yeah.
road he took was tolerance. And he
Mm.
said we must always, a lot of times back in that day, at least, I can't speak for today because usually I just kind of smile at people who tend to show their ignorance on their sleeve. But he said they might ask you something like, "What are you?" You may find that they look at you and they say, "What are you?" They don't realize that this is a really strange question. In my case, my hair was, out to here, and people would put their hand in my hair before introducing themselves,
What?
so they would reach out because it was
Get
a
out of my bubble.
it was a lion's mane. It was
Yeah,
this
no, I saw the
huge-
pictures before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this huge.
It was
So
big.
people were so fascinated by it, and if I hadn't had my father as a teacher, I might have been upset. But I would just go, "Who are you?" And they go, "Oh my God," because they were just, I was in San Diego, and we were looking at the tall ships, and a woman saw my dreadlocks, and I saw her see it. So she just kind of went, and then she faked a trip, and she tripped and grabbed my hair for support.
Oh
And
my
I
goodness.
helped her up, and I said, "If you want to touch my dreadlocks, all you have to do is ask." And she said, "What are you talking about?" But Wasn't born yesterday.
Um,
Um,
since we're on the topic of family, Gary's got a great question. Do you have any children that follow in your footsteps?
none that I've actually gave birth to, because I raised my mother since I was 13. So I made a vow not to have kids at 13 years old. And people would say maybe they don't know their minds, but I did. And I took care off and on of my mom, who was more of a child than I could ever imagine, till I was about 28. And I started to get really upset because I could not understand some crazy decisions she was making.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents divorced when I was 12, and I had a little sister, my little sister, and I had seen The Parent Trap. So all I did was get really worried. You don't split us up. Don't split us up. And so they didn't, but we stayed with my mom. But my mom was just making these really stupid choices. And I would sit her down and I'd say, this guy's an alcoholic. Why? Or this guy has issues. Why? This kind of thing. And I'm 12 and my mom is my mom. So I just said no. But I'm a great auntie and I'm really good with kids, because I don't think I've passed 5 years old, to be honest with you. So I am just a good playmate. So when I met my husband, he had a boy, and actually I met him before, and then afterwards, we won't go into the big love story. Otherwise your program will be over. But we've known each other for a long time, not just as we were married, but we met in high school, and then he married someone else, and then he came back, and there you go. Anyway, that's the Cliff Notes. I'll give you the romantic version with all this kind of lovely music, and I can't believe it. Yeah,
There just
he's
has
the
to
love
be a
of,
part 3 here.
yes, he's the love of my
There
life.
will be. There
And
will be.
I thank God every day. He'll wake up and he'll be fast asleep, and I'll say, Lord, please don't let me screw this up every
Oh.
day, because I'm
Oh.
so blessed with him.
I
Let
love
me keep
that.
doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's part of it, but we'll tell you the rest later. But he had an amazing young boy. And when he came back from being married, he had this lovely boy of about 6 years old, I think he was. And we hadn't really dated before he got married to someone else. And after they separated and he came back down to Southern California, we met again. And I told him that I needed to meet his son, because if I couldn't get along with his son, there was no reason to continue with the relationship.
Hmm.
Because as much
That's
as a
tough.
man or woman will tell you that the children don't matter, they do.
Oh,
Okay.
100%.
Yeah. If they don't,
Speaking from
you've got
experience.
problems.
Yeah,
Your kids
absolutely.
are number one. They are. And I knew
Yeah.
this
Yep.
would be the case. So I introduced his son, Ian, who is now 40. But Ian was a ball player, and I had a Labrador dog, Labrador German Shepherd mix I had rescued, and he didn't know children. He knew people only my size. And I had someone who had a baby in the stroller, and Jeffrey did what dogs do if they don't know quite what that moving thing in the stroller is. He went like this.
Uh-oh.
And I went, Jeffrey, no.
Oh my goodness.
So I explained to Ian that if he could throw the ball at 6 years old for my dog, he would
Mhm.
be delighted, because I throw like a girl. And so I took him out there and I said, keep it in the yard. But when I had the ball, Jeffrey automatically went, because he knew I threw like a girl.
Right.
And then Ian threw, and Jeffrey went and ran and got the ball and held the ball, and I gave it to Ian, and Jeffrey went
Back and forth. Yeah.
Oh.
and I said, are you okay? And Ian said, I'm okay. And I went inside, and then 5 minutes later, Ian came in and said, your dog is exhausted. And I said, what?
Oh, I love that.
And I went
They became
outside, and
best
Jeffrey was,
Yeah.
but he dropped the ball in anything shorter, like shorter than 3 feet. Boom. So the next time the baby came over, this nasty ball in the lap in the baby carriage. Imagine the parents.
Right, totally.
So I said, not the baby, Jeffrey. But yeah, so Ian and I became really good friends, because he is my advice to step parents is, don't try to be the mom. I let Ian know that to think of me more as a playmate than as another mother. He didn't need another mother. He had one.
Mhm.
He was very quiet when he came down, and I said, "You want to go? You want to come play with me?" And he was still very shy at 6, and he sort of walked out very sadly. And I threw open the garage door, and I had 3 5-gallon trash cans, and I dumped them, and they were full of Lego.
Oh my
So he
God.
went, and then I pulled a
Oh,
mattress down. True story. I know this isn't Disney. I'll try to make it more Disney next time. But anyway, this is
okay.
Disney because as Imagineers, we're always creating, and this is creating. I pulled a
Mhm.
mattress down and I said, we're going to build a city on top of this mattress. And so we together for about an hour and a half, we built a Lego city on the mattress. And then I said, now we have to be the people of the city. And you have 2 choices, Ian. You get to be the people of the city or the monster who terrorizes the city. Guess which one he picked?
Oh, the
So,
The
monster.
monster.
so I played the people.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, Godzilla! Look out, Godzilla! Ah! And he and tore everything up. Ah, look out, look out! And the 2 of us are out there, and Lindsay comes home from work, and he hears all this ruckus in the back, and we're like, ah! And he says, "What are you doing?" And we go, and Ian says, we're playing." And after that, we were good friends and buddies ever since. So I remember when he was 13, he said, "Mom is always saying mean things about you and Dad. You and Dad never say mean things about Mom. Why?" And I said, "Sit down, because I will never badmouth your mother. Would you like to know why?" And he said, "Why?" I said, "Because without being with your dad for the time that we were together, if they had not been, they would not have had you.
Right.
And I love you." And
Mhm.
he said, "Oh." I said, "So never. I would never say mean things about your mother." Um,
Beautiful.
and he was very surprised. He was just like, I said, so the next time you speak with your mother, if she says bad things and it hurts your feelings, let your mother know it's hurting your feelings. Just say, "This is hurting my feelings, Mom," and talk with her,
Yeah.
because I'm sure she doesn't mean to necessarily voice out loud as much as she's doing it, but there's wounds that need to heal, and that's the deal. So he's always said, I don't know what an evil stepmother is, because Terri has always been my buddy. When he was a little boy, because I built costumes, he came and asked me if he could be a gremlin. So I made him into the spiky gremlin, and
Ah,
he won all kinds of awards. He was, gosh, 8 or something. And I said, "But I can make this great costume, but you have to be the gremlin."
yes.
And so he was like, "Okay." So he
Oh
was,
my goodness.
and he said, "People kept stepping on my claws, my feet," because we made him the claw feet and
Mhm,
everything.
mhm.
And he was adorable. He was adorable. His mother said, "Next time, can we make a simpler costume? Because that was expensive." So next year he was Ace Ventura, pet detective.
Oh, nice.
You know?
A little simpler, but just a crazier hairdo, basically.
Yeah,
Well, may
it's
I
good to
round this
be.
back to Disney, as you said? One of my favorite quotes from Walt, I'm not going to say it perfectly, but Walt said, "My movies and parks are not just for kids, it's for adults, because every adult is like a grown-up kid." He's like, we all have that magic that if you do it successfully, you never lose that magic within you, that childlike wonder. So it's like you brought
And you
that to
got it,
your
Terry. Yeah,
steps.
you
Well,
got
and
it.
Lee, did you hear the story of Walt came up with Disneyland because he was at the carousel at Griffith Park,
Yes.
and
No.
the old people had no place to sit
Mhm.
or be entertained in any way. That was
Mhm.
all about the children or mid-range adults. And so he decided that there should be a place where all ages could enjoy the park.
Oh my
And
goodness.
when you went into it, one of the things that as an Imagineer, when I was finally an Imagineer, is I used to go on Sunday to the band area that used to be there. I don't know
Mhm.
if you guys remember that, but they used to do the jitterbug contest there.
Yeah,
And it
yeah.
was like watching a Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers movie, watching
Wow.
these couples that were
Oh my
like
goodness.
older than me, easily 50s, and so doing these amazing dance steps and moves and stuff. And when that went, I thought that was, there's some things that Disney has eliminated that I think is a shame that you didn't get to see because it was such a cool thing. The Indian Village was my favorite place to go and dance with the Native American people, because Walt always
Oh, I love that.
filled the lands with the people. So Paris
Mhm.
had French, and Native Americans had Native Americans, and they did their
Mhm.
authentic dances of their different tribes. I mean, I'm someone who likes to read, but I much rather watch it and see the story unfold right before
Yeah.
me as a told story. So
It's
so
funny that you say tribe, because Kevin actually made a comment that, because when I was asking about, like, do you have kids that are following in your footsteps at all? He says you have a tribe. And
I
I think that's a
do.
perfect way of
He's
describing all the
right.
people that are hanging out with you and talking to you and you share your
Yeah.
stories with and everything. I love that phrase about you. That's
Oh,
great.
Kevin, you're such a sweetheart. On Patreon, I have a page, and it's my tribe. And so I invite
Mhm.
anyone who wants to be a part. It is the only other place you can see me live unless I'm on one of these podcasts, or now I'm pre-recording because I'm on my way to semi-retirement. And people said, "What do you think? What does that look like for you?" I'm still trying to figure it out. No
Yeah, what does that look
deadlines.
like?
No deadlines. No
Uh-huh.
deadlines,
Right, of course.
That's
of
good.
which I have 3 right now. Um, and then I wanna do some of my own work, meaning that I did a lot of designing, and I do a lot of designing for Disney, but I wanna do my own style of work. I wanna paint. I love painting animals, and I love, and I think that that's kind of a direction I may go, but I don't know. I learned how to I'm learning painting. I learned during the pandemic, and it's not perfect, but I'm loving the journey. So, the tribe on Patreon is a place where we kind of gather like this. Like tomorrow, I have a Zoom call with all of them. And I always say it's a couple hours. It usually lasts longer because it's me. And
Well, that's
I
why
love
we're at an
that.
hour and 25 minutes
yeah,
right now,
well, we
Terry.
can talk about everything just like we do here.
But it's
Someone will
okay.
have something.
Honestly, I'm like Captain
Yeah.
America. I could do this all day. This is
Well, they
great.
Yeah,
talk
I
about
love
the,
it.
I'm
you
loving this
start to
so
talk
much.
about life. You start to say, so for example, we were talking about people twisted a bit too tight because of our situation in the real world. So in the tribe, I want you to leave the world behind. And I'll use the Minecraft analogy. This is the only thing I understand about Minecraft, is that once you go through that portal, if you don't have the key to get back, you're stuck in Magicville. And I like Magicville. And I think that's what I want the tribe to be, a place where people can relate to each other, be kind to each other, and step in from the cold, because you're going to have to go back out to your life in a little bit. And so maybe you'll feel better for it if inside this area called the tribe, you can sit and discuss anything about you. One of the greatest compliments I've got from being a part of Terry's tribe, and it's as little as $5 a month to be a part of it, and I just give a lot with that, is that there are people who were very quiet. I'm sure you guys, if you do a Zoom call, there's those who have their names up and they never come out from behind the card.
Of course.
They're shy. Maybe they think they're such a geek that they might be judged, or and we had a girl very much like that, a woman who barely spoke, and now she just chatters away, and she thanks everybody for allowing her to spread her wings and be who she is,
Mhm.
and feel like she's a part of something, like she has a real family. And she sent me a card that said the same thing, and it's like,
Oh.
this is what I want people to understand, that you have to be the best you can be, and to not apologize for it. um there are so many beautiful facets in the world that I love to get to know you, and I ask you about you, and tell me about you and stuff like that. And so it was great to see her evolve from someone who used to not say anything in a crowd. And then once she got here, she just started to open up, and everyone's just you know, that the magic of being comfortable enough to feel you've got a safe space where you can talk about Disney or Lego or charities or trains, or you like to do origami, or you like to cosplay, or you know, you're someone who reads, or you're someone who likes to collect matchsticks, whatever it is that seems to be a little bit odd.
Right.
Don't, you know, the oddness is what makes you unique and special. And that's why I'm always saying to people, you know, you have to be you. Weird is cool. So that's character
Yeah.
development, says Zach.
Yep.
It's having the right to be you. You know, I used to
Mhm.
say that in the world they kind of chastise you if you believe in God. You know, why do we have to have prayer? Why do we have to this? Why do we have to that? Well, whatever they decide, fine. But you got to understand that there are many of us that do believe in God, and we don't want to feel like we can't tell you that we do.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
You
Absolutely.
don't for you, but you do. I don't want to feel like I can't tell you that I believe in God because you feel that you have the right to say there is none. You know, you want to poke the snake, that's your business. I love you for you, and you're in America. And
Yeah.
contrary to some of the things that are happening, we're still in America. What can we do about it? Be the best human we can. Lead with tolerance.
Compassionate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well
My
said.
father said,
Yes.
poison isn't effective unless you take it.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
remember, when someone is snarling and growling at you and saying a few
Mhm.
things that are very unsavory, try to stay in that space, as you were saying before about the book, Jason, is that
Yes.
take a minute to say, you know, this is the label they want me to accept, and I renounce that thing,
Yes.
you know.
Yep. We were talking about
Um,
that a little bit before the show, how, you know, the
mhm.
primal brain kind of takes over and we want to sort of jump down their throats and do the same thing that they're doing in retaliation, but we don't know the whole
Yeah.
story, number one, and
Mhm.
also we don't really want to become those same kind of people. I mean, I think in
Yeah.
general, none of us do.
And
We just
please
kind of let everything take
wait 3
over.
seconds.
Yes.
3 seconds before you go into an intersection. Jim Rohn, who said, I said, if you had one thing to say to me, he said, wait 3 seconds before going into an intersection. What does that mean? It means wait 3 seconds after the light turns green before you go into an intersection. It could save your life,
Mm.
but also reread your emails and texts before you send them,
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
especially when angry.
Yeah, you could ruin friendships that way.
I mean, remember, if the person cuts you off, he could be packing.
Yes.
So do you want to lose your life over some nut that obviously feels they need to get to this spot before you? So just,
I'll
you
bet you
know,
all didn't know you were going to be getting life lessons
pull
during
back and
today's
let the, you
show.
know, well, what? And you guys can tell me, everyone out there can tell me. But when someone says they've met Michael Jackson, they go, I've met Michael Jackson, Liz Taylor, da-da-da. Do you in the back of your head say, that's good for you, but what's in it for me? And you don't
I
even have to say so in the
I
comments.
just wonder, did they
Just own it.
actually know who they were though? Meeting somebody and actually knowing who they are two completely separate things. Especially when you
Yeah.
meet somebody at conventions and panels and stuff like that. It's different. You get an opinion of somebody as you're walking by and you hear a conversation, you're like, I don't want to see them. But I mean, if you actually got to know them for like 1 minute and just like whether it's walking in their shoes or just listening to what they have to
Yeah.
say and truly feeling it at the same time, it's a different story. It's
Yeah.
always a different story. You
Well,
just
that's
never
One of
know.
my favorite. Oh yeah.
Go ahead, Lee. Go ahead, Lee.
Oh no, just one of my absolute favorite quotes is everyone you meet is fighting a battle that you don't know about. Be kind always.
Yeah.
Like we just have no idea what people are going through, and especially hurt people hurt people. So if somebody treats you bad, they're going through something in their life and it doesn't have anything to do with you. It's just they're doing the best they can.
Definitely.
Yeah, don't Ted Lasso, one of my favorite shows, not Disney also, sorry
Oh, I
about
love
that.
Ted Lasso.
Says be curious, not judgmental.
Mm.
Mhm.
And that is so
Huge.
important, especially
Yeah.
now. This is something that we can do because I think a lot of people in the world feel very helpless. What am I going to be able to do? What am I going to be able to do? Just be the best human being you possibly can.
Yeah.
And be kind, as you have said. And I think it's gonna exponentially make the world a better place, at least in the circles that you affect.
Everybody
And
has to
so
try, though. Everybody has to try. That's the
everybody
only
does,
way
and
this is going to work.
and
Yeah.
believe me, it's simple, but it's not easy.
Nope.
There are times when you're going to be upset and angry,
And human.
and human. Just
Yep.
remember, everyone has a cell phone, so be careful.
Yes.
Remember, the fairies didn't plug up the chimney in Sleeping Beauty, and look what happened. So be careful.
Yeah, I've
And-
come to understand the terminology of doom scrolling nowadays, and realizing that when I
Dopamine
get
hit.
too
Yeah.
deep into like social media and start seeing all this other stuff, and I start, my mood starts changing, and I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
the cat videos have stopped, and now I'm into politics. It's time to put the phone down.
Yeah, go back to cat videos.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, yeah. And so this is why we're not going to talk about that much to everyone out there, but this is why Disney is so appealing.
Yes.
Disneyland and the parks are really appealing because you can walk in and forget all that. If you give in to all of that, you
Mhm.
can be touched by the pixie dust, by the magic, by the giggle.
right.
All of that is there for your enjoyment and the fun, and what a blessing that that Walt has he
Here
didn't
you
give
leave.
up.
Here's the quote that I love, and it's we have a plaque that's just like this. It's the one that you see when you're going underneath the railroad tracks at Disneyland. It's a plaque that says, "Here you leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy." What
Mhm.
better way to say,
Mhm.
leave all that other crap behind you, because it doesn't belong here. This is
Yeah.
this is like a completely different place. Walt said Disneyland is your land, and it's not just Disneyland. It's like it's Disney in general. And you know, you make it what you get from it, and just like anybody else, you know, it's like you visit there. And I know people, there's a lot of people out there like, I don't like Disneyland, there's too many crowds and it's too expensive, blah blah blah. Have you been there? Have you actually experienced it? Were you ever there as a child? What did you think of it when you were a child? Remember those times. And it's not just Disneyland, it's everywhere you go. Remember
I love
those
how you
moments.
say it,
Remember those
Jason.
magic.
Like,
Yeah.
you can find magic in
In everything.
everyday life, and especially like
one
something
little
to
thing.
me. You can have so many moments that are free that are magical. Like if you walk down a street and the sun is shining on you and you hear birds singing, you just close your eyes and feel the moment. It's
That's it.
magical.
That's your
Mhm.
magic moment for the day.
Mhm.
Remember it.
Yeah.
I found
Mhm.
magic today when I was taking my dog for a walk, and she actually stopped to smell a flower. I
Ooh.
saw that, and I'm like, oh my God, she is literally stopping to smell the flowers. And here I am hurrying because I'm on my lunch break, you know, from work. And I'm like, okay, you're right. We got to just
You're
stop
right.
for a
Let me
second.
smell that
Gotta
flower over
protect
there.
Right.
Oh, teacher.
In the
Yeah.
middle of downtown Oakland, of all
You
places,
get on your
too.
hands and knees and smell the flowers.
I did not do that, but thank you for asking.
That guy's a nut.
I know.
No,
Well,
I
there's
just
crazier
had to
things that
smell
you
this
see out on
flower.
our streets. We are getting a bit late into the evening, and I don't want to keep you very much longer, Terry. Let's just go ahead and kind of start wrapping things up. Tell us, like you obviously talked about your Patreon. Where else can people find the stuff that you've done? I know you have a website. You're on social media as well. You want to go ahead and talk about that before we say
Well,
goodnight?
Instagram, as you see, is Terri Hardin Legend.
Yes,
You can
ma'am.
find me there, and I've actually learned how to do a reel and a story. Just took me all this time. Technology is a challenge for me every single day, but I'll keep trying it. You know, well done, Zach. That sounds lovely. Figment of the imagination, like a little spark.
Absolutely.
But you can also
We never
go to
got
my
to your Figment
website.
story either. You actually
Which
tried out for
one?
Figment. Figment, you actually tried out for his voice, didn't
I
you?
did at 13 years old.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to work with this is what happens when you get to be older. I use it, but then I sit here and I say, "Oh my gosh!" But the one who did all the characters, Bugs Bunny and all
Mel
of
Blanc.
them,
Oh,
Mel
Mel
Blanc.
Blanc.
Yeah, my dad used to work for a radio station, KMPC Radio, next to KTLA 5 here in Southern California, and Mel Blanc was a guest, I guess, and my dad said, my daughter does voices, and he had taped me and he handed it to Mel Blanc. So Mel Blanc did a series. I wish I still had the tape. He put all his
So do I.
voices. He did all his voices on a recording for me, and I probably played it till it broke.
Oh my gosh.
But then he sat with me, I think, for about half an hour, and we did voices together, and it was really great. June Foray was my acting coach for a while, and she used to say, "Stop, Terry, I know what you want to hear." You know how you walk up to someone and you go, "Would you please do this?
Do the voice.
Do this character, this
Do the
character,
voice.
this character."
Yeah, do the roar.
I said to her, I said, "Would you please do Taki Tina?" And she starts laughing. She says,
Oh, Twilight Zone.
Yeah. Oh, it's my favorite character. It's my favorite character she does. So every time she did it, I would just go like this, and she'd go, "Okay, give me a minute. You're such a pain." She'd say with a big smile. We knew each other for years.
All right, so I know we got on a tangent there.
I mean, it's just that each person that you meet, if you take something home with you as far as you can when you meet them, you don't be so shy that you don't walk up and politely ask them if you can have a moment of their time to tell them how much you admire their work. Sidney Poitier, Venice Beach, is one of those people. I remember looking up at him and saying, the movie Guess Who's Coming to Dinner was life-changing for a little girl who's white and has a black father. And he said, "Whoa." And the same with Spock. I got to meet Leonard Nimoy on the set of Dinosaur.
You're kidding me.
Leonard Nimoy.
And Leonard Nimoy and I got the chance to talk. Thank you, Kurt Thatcher, who surprised me with him and brought him up on the set and said, "Terry's a real fan of your character." And I said, "I know there are times when you say I am not Spock and whatever, but I said Spock was so special because he was mixed races, and I actually got to see in Spock what that mixture did and how he struggled often with it and how he adapted to it, and being so much like him, a different race but mixed, was such a blessing." And I told him it was just one of my favorite shows, and it'll always be the original. I'm not a Star Trek fan. I'm a Star Trek the original
Me
fan.
too.
So I can't watch the others. It has too much meaning for me. And I remember Whoopi Goldberg saying, "Mom, come quick. There's a black woman on TV and she ain't no maid." So and these things are important to us because we weren't back then represented in ways, and we didn't really. Maybe some people, Whoopi's very intelligent, so she probably noticed it, but I didn't. I just kind of floated like a leaf on the water trying to understand all that stuff. But someone like Walt Disney brings all kinds of different flavors to a place he called Disneyland. And it was an experience for us to see things we might never have seen and experience things we never would have. And I'm so happy to be a part of that park. And people say, "Oh, Disneyland, it's so small." But you must remember, it's the only park in the world where Walt walked.
Yep.
So treat it with respect when you walk on there. Know that that is the only place you are going to see what he hand designed himself. The castle he walked out the back, which you can still replicate that picture. You can walk in his footsteps. You can look at his apartment. You can see all of the things that made him very happy and what he wanted to do. That apartment is strategically placed where it is over the firehouse so he could sit and observe guests walking through the gate.
Yep.
So that he could decide, is there enough? How are they? Are they smiling? What are they doing? And so it's such an exciting park when you realize that, and you see the windows of Imagineers who were there and legends who were there that are able to do it. So it's a very, very special place. And
that's the kind of thing that I really wish people would stop and take a look at. It's not just about rides or attractions or anything like that. It's the entire package. There is so much history in that park. And it continues to actually make history as it goes along, which is a great thing. Now, obviously, it's not that much in Walt's eyes as much anymore, but I think that people really do try to do their best to kind of keep it in his
Well,
vision.
you know, when you ride the monorail and you remember Bob Gurr built that thing,
Yes.
you go, excuse me, Bob Gurr tells the story of Walt Disney going, I need a monorail. What's a monorail? I don't know. Make it work.
I don't
It
know.
flies across
Make
here.
one.
You can do it, Bob.
Right.
And he leaves, and Bob's like, huh. But Bob built it, and that was the magic of Walt Disney. Walt Disney would give you a project that stretched you, and you would fan yourself and breathe often. I
Yep.
have no idea, but I don't want to disappoint Walt. I
Yes.
don't want to disappoint Walt. And you made incredible things.
Mhm.
You know, Bob Gurr to me is a fascinating human being because he's entertaining as well as he's a real genius. I ride the monorail and I go, how?
Yeah, I have not had the pleasure of meeting him just yet. I really do hope I get a chance to talk to him someday. Doesn't necessarily have to be on this show, but just to be able to be in front of him and say thank you
Well, you got to
for
come to
everything that you've
California.
done.
You got to come to California, and you've got to, and before you do,
I am in
up-
California.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, then look this up. Bob Gurr's, those of you who are not, Bob Gurr's bus tour. Have you heard of that?
No.
Bob Gurr's, I believe it's Bob Gurr bus tour.com. But if you do Bob Gurr bus, it'll probably get you there, right?
It's actually part of waltland.com, I think. It says, waltland.com. And it does have a section on there that says bus tour. And you can buy tickets from there.
Bob Gurr, now there's going to be 2 bus tours. Make sure the one that you want, since you're saying you want to meet Bob, is the Bob Gurr bus tour, which meets in front of Griffith Park Zoo. And and oh my gosh, you can decide whether you want to have lunch with him for a VIP price, or you can sit on the bus.
Holy
and it will blow your mind. I haven't been on it yet. I want to go on it, but just meeting the people, because it stops at Walt's Barn, Griffith Park, with Carolwood, another amazing
the LA
place.
Zoo, yeah.
Oh gosh, you will love it. You will absolutely.
Wow.
It is.
Thank you for bringing that to light. I did not know about this.
Oh, this is a way to meet him. This is a way to be right by him, and
that's great.
It's a brilliant thing, and you guys love it, and it's a nice way to get to see him. You know, he's just so much fun, and of course you'll get to pick up some sort of souvenir that he is autographing, because he know, he was my marketing mentor. You know, always have something for people to purchase
great.
from you. You can also, on my website, go to my online store, and I have pins, including this lovely gem right here, which is my 70th anniversary birthday pin that we designed through the tribe. So it's Mickey opening up a card with a classic castle on it.
Oh, that's so cute.
That's
I was wondering what the little book was. I was like, wait, it's a little card. It's cool. I love it.
What is that? Yes, and that's what happens when you're in the tribe. I'll usually bounce things off you, ask you questions about upcoming sculptures that I'm doing. I want your input, because honestly, if you're creating things for Disney enthusiasts, it's a good idea to ask the Disney enthusiast what they think.
Yes.
Don't just make it. Why don't you ask them? And I don't know why Disney doesn't do more of that. But they go, you're an amazing sculptor and you always sell out. And I said, that's because I ask people what they want.
Oh, see,
what do you want?
Yeah, we need more of that. Absolutely need more of that. And
what are you
Terri,
looking for? What do you want?
I hate this. I don't say hate on this show very much, but I hate to say it, but I do have to start wrapping things up and saying goodnight. But I have a lot of people in the audience that are saying, we need to do a part 3. Best main gate magic yet.
Thank you.
Autograph King says part 3. Zach says I'm down for part 3. Patricia's saying all in favor for
Zach
part
got
3.
Zach got so excited he wrote Fuff. I'm down for Fuff.
Jason, you need to do the clapping icon thing for
Yes,
sometimes
definitely.
Jason, you just do a Lego does like a
Very
bunny
hard
slipper time.
tonight.
Thank you.
Yes.
Lego does a bunny slipper time where you spend the evening in pajamas and just chat with each other. I've threatened to do that with my tribe, where we just are up for several hours chatting away, and people plug in and then they go out. So whenever your main gate magic is down for it, then you can just look at that. Joshua, I love you, man.
He's ready for parts 3, 4, and 5.
That's
Yeah.
it. He's so lovely.
Honestly,
and he
Terry,
knows
I mean,
me.
I could spend a day, and this is the conversations that I could do just talking into the early hours of the morning and just be like, okay,
Yes.
where are we going for breakfast to keep talking about?
Exactly. As a podcaster, now you have my permission. You can do one of those long days journeys into night, and we'll just keep
Yes.
telling stories. People can fall asleep, wake up. Oh my God, she's still
Well,
talking.
I do
Maybe
have to go
after
spend time
hours.
with, I do have to go spend some time with the birthday girl because I got off
Yes,
of
you
work
do, young man.
and I spent some time eating dinner, and then I did the podcast. So I got to take care of my love.
Bless
She
her.
actually choked me up a little bit today. She's like, baby, I love you, but it's not just the fact that I love you. I am still in love with you.
Yeah, isn't that
And
a
I was
lovely
like,
thing to
oh my
say?
God.
Isn't that a lovely thing to
I
say?
got the best.
I've got to go watch Emperor's New Groove with Will Smith.
There you go.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
See,
There you
everybody
go.
took something from tonight's episode. So
One of the
Terri,
animators in Florida told me, before you go, since you're going to watch Emperor's New Groove, that the reason the llama is so upset is because when they're in the tree in the water, it always hits the rock on the llama side.
Oh,
So if you haven't noticed,
I never noticed that before.
watch it again and you'll see that the llama always gets the mush.
For real.
Oh, I'm gonna watch that. I didn't notice that.
Let me guess. Waterfall? Yep. Dangerous rocks below?
You'll
Most
crack
likely.
up. You'll crack up
Bring it.
because when he told me that, it just made it funnier, But
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
the scene with the bats in the cave, I laugh way before it happens.
And he gets the
it's
mouthful of bats. Yeah, that's
it's
hilarious.
Little hooks are hitting.
The
That's a
bridge.
future episode of Main Gate Magic. We
Oh,
will definitely
so-
have to talk about the
Yeah.
Emperor's
Love
New
what a
Groove.
great
face.
movie.
And no,
What a
Steve,
great
there's no
movie.
COD tonight, buddy. I'm sorry. maybe another night, but yeah, we'll play another time. All right, Terri.
Well, happy birthday.
You have so much light in you. You have so many magical stories. Thank you for making it a part of our lives and our show
Thank
today. I
you.
know a lot of people really appreciated this. We had a lot more viewers today than we did before. So if anybody
Oh,
watching,
thanks,
and I have to do it
guys.
now, I have to do it, guys. If you haven't already, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe, because this is the kind of stuff that we want to bring back into the world. This kind of magic.
Yes.
this
Yeah,
kind of
find my
joy.
channel. It still
kind
has
of
the
hope.
same freeway brain that you
There
see
you go.
here. My channel has about 400 people on it on YouTube. You'll
I'd love
just
to be
put
there
my name
someday.
in there and give me a number. But I'd love to have you on there. Just kind of
Yeah.
broadcast it. It's all over the place because I am, as you've noticed. But yeah, this has been fantastic, and I thank you. And you're probably going to sit with your wife during the birthday and say, "How do I keep her on track?" You're just going to have to say, "Answer me in 5 minutes." This is what
Right.
Tony did. 20 minutes, whatever. And
Right.
we'll see if we can get through a few more of them quickly, and then you can cherry pick your stories. Or
This is unedited. These shows, when it goes on YouTube, it
It's
stays on
live.
YouTube. There is no
Yeah.
chopping up here. So that it's everything
Yeah,
you
well, I
see
went
is
to
what
a
you get.
Breakfast Club, and I couldn't tell whether I was going to have 10 minutes or 30 minutes. So my
Uh-huh.
husband edited my career in 3 minutes. So I just pushed it, and it was my career in 3 minutes. And people said, "It goes by so fast." I said, "I can play it again." So
Pay attention this time. No.
Oh my
So if
goodness.
anybody missed the replay, you can watch it on our YouTube channel under the
yeah.
live section. Every single minute that we talk on
Absolutely
air
delightful.
is on there. So you guys will not miss a single thing. And you can also listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and the Podcast Network.
And
Thank
how long
you
you been
all.
broadcasting?
Almost 2 years now. Almost
Ugh.
2 years.
You're a rock star.
So
Oh, yeah.
I'm enjoying. The more that I do it, the more that I am falling in love with it. I have
Oh.
had my doubts here and there, but it is hard to say anything different than I just am falling in love with it.
Oh,
'Cause
that's
it's
wonderful.
every single episode becomes more magical, and this is no exception. So again, thank you for being on the show tonight.
You bet.
I hope you have a
Anytime.
wonderful evening and enjoy your show with your tribe tomorrow. And
you.
Shamim was asking, the Autograph King, he was asking if you're going to be at any mouse cons soon. That's one final question.
You
I was
know
gonna
what,
see if you could
Shamim?
answer
I
real
don't know.
quick.
I haven't been invited. I am going to be at Disneyland this weekend, and those of you who are going,
Shut up.
warning. It is Chalk Walk. So Sunday, you won't be able to get in early because we are chalk walking for Children's Hospital of Orange County. So if you
Aw.
want to get in there early, Sunday is not the day.
So I know that that's a charitable event, but what time are you going to be actually there doing your chalk walk?
Chalk walk, I get up at 2 a.m.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Bless
And then
your
we
heart.
stand in line till about 6.
My
And then we
God.
walk a 5K. And
Wow.
then we eat. But I was top fundraiser for my team, which is very nice because my tribe helped and everyone, there's a lot of people out there in the audience, of your audience, that helped me to hit over $5,500. So I'm pretty happy
Nice.
about that.
Very
But
nice.
it's a great charity. But last year we heard people complaining, why do we have to wait? Well, there's a charity event on Sunday. So Saturday, go Saturday, and then Sunday, just know that the chalk walkers will be there. So
That's the first day
Monday
that-
is a
yeah.
good day to go.
Well, Sunday, Terry, I'm actually going to be there on Sunday, but I won't be there that early in the morning. We'll be driving down that day, but we'll be there on Sunday through Thursday next week. So
Well,
I'll
give
be
us.
there.
it sounds like I might miss you, but
You might, but
yeah.
feel free to text me and we'll see.
Okay.
Because I'm going to go home, take a nap, and who knows, I might come back because I do have entrance into the park that day, and
Okay.
they get you if you don't go in.
I'll push you a message and we'll see if we can do a quick meetup because Zach is
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Zach in the chat. He's visiting there. That's his first day at Disneyland too, but it's his first day at Disneyland ever. So
Wow.
it is already magical for him, and we're supposed to hang out with him on Monday. No, actually, is it Monday? No, I think he's going on Sunday and Monday. So anyway, I digress. Yeah, I will be in touch, and we'll see if we can hop together and just say hi really quick. At least maybe a hug and a hi. And I know
Yeah.
Lisa would love to see you. That'd be fantastic.
Well, we'll text. And again, happy birthday to Lisa. What's her
Yes.
favorite character?
Happy birthday, Lisa.
Sorry.
Disney character. What's your favorite Disney character?
Oh, it's Minnie Mouse.
Minnie Mouse.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I don't think she told me
absolutely.
that last time.
Yeah, I don't know if we talked about it. We talked
No, I
about a
don't
lot
think
of
so.
other things aside from Disney
Because
characters.
to be
but we
honest
did
with
talk
you,
about
she
Minnie
was
Mouse.
working back then. So I'm very happy for her that she's retired. Because before she was getting up early and all of
Yes.
that, remember?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. So
All right.
congratulations.
Thanks for hanging, everybody.
Great.
Thanks again,
Thomas, good to
Terri.
see you.
Great
Yes,
to meet
and thank you to
And,
my
Leia, good to
co-host
meet
Leia and
you.
Thomas.
And I
Yes.
hope I
Nice to
see you
meet you.
guys again soon.
You
Yeah, I
guys
work
have a
at-
wonderful
Absolutely.
evening
I work-
too.
I work at Disneyland, so I might
Yes.
see you there too.
Yeah,
So,
where do you work?
I'm downtown. I'm also I'll be in the park that day too. So
Oh, excellent.
Keep an eye out.
Excellent.
All right, folks. Have a wonderful evening, and we will see you next Tuesday. Thanks for joining us, and be well. Adios. Thank you for tuning in to another fun-filled episode of Main Gate Magic. We hope you enjoyed the show. It's been our pleasure bringing a little Disney magic into your life. Please remain seated while the show comes to a complete stop, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the podcast at all times. For more information about upcoming episodes, please make sure to follow, like, and subscribe on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. You are now free to exit the show. Please watch your step, and be sure to tune in next week for more Main Gate Magic. Bye-bye.